I just want to talk a bit, before I go into the news, about the Java group as a whole and what we want to do this year. So obviously Java 8 is going to be a big deal. So we did last year some workshops. I know a lot of you were here for those. Just looking at the features, we'll do a few more of those things as well. We'll talk a bit more about that in a sec. Just a show of hands, who saw the email about the Raspberry Pi Oracle? You've got a few nods about this side. Anyone? So for those who don't know, there's Oracle are doing a online course with Raspberry Pi and JVM, and the whole deal is that you go buy yourself a kit that they've partnered with some guys at I can't remember the name, Adafruit. They're a big Raspberry Pi distributor. And so you can basically go buy this kit. The course starts at the end of next month, so you've got a bit of time to get all the equipment, and you do the course online, and you'll just learn how to do JVM with Raspberry Pi, which most people have probably never done. I can speak personally, I've never done any JVM stuff, so I think it's a good way to get into it, and you get to play around with a lot of hardware, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, GPS devices, and a whole bunch of other stuff in there as well. So I'm going to post these slides afterwards. There's this link to the Raspberry Pi MOOC, so you can go and click on the link, or you can look through the meetup email history and you'll see it in there. The other thing is, because of Raspberry Pi partly, but just also because it's pretty cool, is understanding how the JVM works. So back in the day there was some stuff like the group's called MelbJVM, and the simple thing is that we've basically talked a lot about different languages on the platform, but we haven't really dove any deeper than anything lower than bytecode level and how the actual JVM does what it needs to do. So tonight's talk's a good intro for that, to get that going, but I'd like to do a lot more of that, and whether it's that it's like we're all pretty new to the topic, so if we maybe even do Saturday sessions or something where we're just all taking our trying to understand what's going on and doing tutorials, that might be an option. But it's just something I want to get the idea in you guys' heads about. This is something that we're interested in and doing more about. And in that vein, then taking it further, so with Java 8 or Raspberry Pi or JVM stuff or anything else for that matter, doing some hack days, and where basically we work on either open source projects. So we've got Olivia here, who is very keen on doing a hacker garden, and I emailed you guys around December last year about that. So basically you take an open source project and you start working on issues on it, and the goal is at the end of the hacker garden you've actually got something to contribute back, and you also learn how to actually work with that open source project in terms of the cycle of picking issues and submitting patches and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where we're aiming to be for this year, and doing a lot more of that kind of stuff. Is there anything, I'm just going to put it out there to the audience, is there anything that you guys want to see that you want to see covered during the year, or in terms of any other kinds of types of events other than just having a few guys sitting up at the front and talking to you? Is there anything else that you guys have got any ideas about? Tim?
Is it out of scope to, I've heard a lot of people talking about closure.
Yeah.
And stuff, but I haven't touched it or had time to pull them up yet.
Yep.
Is that sort of out of scope for
No, I mean,
JVM?
absolutely not. We've had a Kotlin talk, we've had all these obscure languages last year. Wiley was one of them. We actually partnered with the Yao guys for a Yao night last year, and there was a closure talk in one of those. So that's something that we're definitely open to, and we go and speak to the closure guys. We've actually, on that point, we've got a few people who've done a bit of closure stuff in the group, so we'll have something coming in the next few months around that, a demo with closure and stuff, so definitely open to it. Is there any other languages you guys use that we haven't really covered that you'd like to see more of? Have we got any Scala devs around here? Very happy to keep going the way we're going. All right, I'll let you guys off the hook for now, but there's one other idea that we've got. So if you've been in this group for a long, long time, you remember this slide. So when we first started and we needed some ideas, we wanted to get everyone to start talking. And this worked out pretty well. So it was basically, here's Java 7, what's all the features in that? And basically people just picked some stuff off this list. And we got into a bit of a rhythm where Java 7 was actually quite easy because you had Project Coin with lots of little small features. So I think Andrew, you did strings in Switch, is that right? Yeah, that was pretty easy. And you got we got 2 minutes of enlightenment on hash codes and how that all works behind the scenes. Andrew, you did the best one with the binary literals.
I was so excited by that.
Yeah. Yeah. The best part I remember from that was a smiley face in binary. That was gold. So yeah, we've got. It does work. You don't have to talk for a very long time, but if you've ever wondered what it's like to talk to a big crowd, this is a really good opportunity to do that. And so yeah, what we're going to do is obviously with Java 8 coming out at the end of this month, start again and pick out a lot of the stuff. So I did post a question on Meetup today about what features in Java 8 were on your radar. So I think these were the ones that came up: functional interfaces and lambdas and streams and collections and all this kind of stuff. Is there anything else that you guys were that was on your radar? No. There's a few others that we've mentioned before. So Nashorn's the JavaScript engine. That's a better version of Rhino, basically. So if you're doing any JavaScript execution, whether it be, probably might not realise, but if you've got a Maven plugin that's doing some JavaScript manipulation, then it's probably running Rhino under the hood. And now Nashorn is more up to date, more faster, because it's using Invoke Dynamic and a whole bunch of other stuff. So that's something I've got a keen interest in. There's datetime API, so basically the guy who wrote JodaTime is also been pulled into this new JSR, which basically gives Java an up-to-date date and time API, which should probably be, thank God, yeah, it's something that's quite nice that's coming out. And then there's a whole bunch of all these other things. So target type enhancement sounds really boring and it's got to do with generics, but what it's really cool about it is that it's about for the streams API and all the new collection stuff, there's better typing. So if you ever use generics, most people go so far down the road and then go, oh no, this is really terrible. I'm having trouble with doing stuff. So simply this is going to be basically for streams. You're going to need to know generics a little bit better, and so the target type enhancements just mean that you don't have to specify your angle brackets and your types in as many places as before. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. So I'm going to basically do the same thing we did last year, leave this slide up and maybe get, I think personally, I don't have a mouse pointer here, but default methods is probably a really good one to start with because it's really, really easy. So would anyone want to volunteer for the next meetup? Take up. All right, we've got Andrew over here. He's already done one, so you can have it if you really want to, but it's someone else who would really want to give it a go. No?
I'll give it a go.
Yeah? Yeah, fantastic. All right, cool. Well, yeah, there's so many features, so you can fight over them. Cool. The other idea that we had was doing a show and tell. So if you don't want to come up and talk, which looks like a lot of you, then what we're thinking of doing is opening up the meetup about half an hour earlier than we normally do. So where we go and have pizza and stuff, but you bring your laptop along and you bring whatever you're hacking around with during your after hours that you can show, and we'll just have a look at all the projects, and then we'll decide, there's a few that we think warrant, just presenting just because it's interesting. Because you might do something, you might think it's, your day-to-day boring Spring Bean stuff or whatever you think it is, but to other people, they haven't done it. And Java's so broad that, just even knowing that it's out there, so it might be, just something cool where you go and do something. You might be doing something that someone else is interested in, and I just want to show what other libraries people are using, what other things people are doing out there. So I think if we get into that discussion, then more people will want to come and present, and more just start building this community up a little bit more, so that we've got other things other than just presentations to go off. So that's the idea. So have a think about that. We'll probably start doing that as soon as anyone's got some stuff to show off. So we'll take it from there. Sorry, any questions before I go on to that? All right. Next week, in fact, we've got an intro to Open HFT, which stands for High Frequency Trading, and Peter's going to do that. So you're going to get a taster today of that, and then next week come along. We're going back to People Bank again, so the original place where we had most of our meetups. So you should all know about that. And then finally, Java 8. In a few weeks after that, we get a bit of a break. So we'll basically be able to go and do some Java 8 stuff of some description. Okay. All right. So I'm just checking my messages because we've got a few people who are going to connect to the Hangouts server. So what we'll do is we'll start moving on to the news, and then I'll go through the rest of the stuff. The technical difficulties, get Peter to talk. But first of all, news. So there was a thing called collection literals that was proposed, a Java enhancement process, which basically was the idea of if you use Groovy or something like that, you've got really easy access to define a list and an array and whatever else. So there was an enhancement proposal to bring that into Java. So there was a lot of discussions, and there's basically this week Brian Getz went on the Lambda Dev list to just sort of summarise what had gone on. So after looking at all the different proposals and the ideas, they've decided to put that on hold, and there's a few good reasons. One of them is that there's a thing about value types coming along, which basically, if value types come in, it will change the way that this feature would look. So that was one of the reasons. They also said that for the amount of effort involved in all these corner cases as it stands now, putting the engineering effort into collection literals would make it a lot, just wouldn't make it worthwhile doing that at this stage. So they'd rather put their engineering effort into other stuff. So I've got a link in there and you can read more about it, but it doesn't necessarily seem like a big loss, and there's a lot of ways that people are talking about just to, you've got already, arrays. What does everyone do? Array to make a list. You've got your static methods where you put all your stuff in, and so there's a whole bunch of other stuff like that coming around, and you can always still use Groovy or whatever else if you do want shorthand, and it all talks to the JVM anyway. I'm not really qualified to speak on this, but I thought it was interesting enough. There's this Java memory model, so if you do anything to do with concurrency, you'd probably be aware about this. And so this was a new JEP that was started recently, and the idea is basically the Java memory model hasn't been updated since Java 5 back in 2004. And so this is basically, reviews a lot of the inconsistencies in it and sort of brings it into the future. And looking at Peter, because he's like going, yeah, you've got no idea, Con.
I know, I think it's all good.
This would make concurrency better and stuff like that. So that's a good thing. These are 3 links to that will help actually if you do want to take on one of those Java 8 topics. So they're basically java8.org, so a one-pager on all the summary of all the new Java 8 syntax stuff. Everything about Java 8 is a pretty decently sized blog post about all the going through Java 8 features. And finally, 55 new features. Oracle's Simon Ritter did a presentation going through almost everything that was new in Java 8. So it's a good summary if you need to get to one. And just for any Groovy devs out there, there's Advanced Groovy Tips, an InfoQ presentation by Ken Carson. That's actually pretty decent, as well as the Groovy Spring Bean Builder. So this was just kind of nice if you're still using Spring and you do use Groovy or DSL to specify your beans. So use Gradle or anything, and see that sort of stuff. So again, thanks for coming, and thanks for anyone who's tuning in over the internet. We appreciate it. And also our Queensland Jug, who are messaging me to say that they can't connect, so we'll sort that out in the next little bit. And again, to volunteers here at Shine who made the office open for us and helped set up and all that, so I couldn't do it without them. And as well as the JVM organisers, so Davida and Gordon and Andrew over here, and Daniel, Ram, you're sitting over there, and Tim, you're asking all the good questions. That's really good. So yeah, thank you. If you do want to become an organiser, then come and see me afterwards. It's we meet once a month outside of this for a drink and to talk about where the group's going, and it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. So I think you can also join in on the fun. And then thanks again, Varden, the beers, and I should have left that on there longer. There you go. And of course to Shine, which you're in this building, so you know how awesome it is. And also, if I forget, somebody please remind me, because I've had to do these prize draws offline, so we'll just remind us afterwards. So as always, please go and try Java 8 in your project and download it and put it in your continuous integration and make sure your Java 8 works, even if you're still using Java 6. Because then you get double the fun. You get to upgrade to Java 7 and Java 8 at the same time, and all the little nigglies. But get it going, get it running. We want to see it out in the wild.
Is that confirmed about April launch for Java 8?
Yeah, well, apparently it's March 18th actually, and then that's a soft launch, and then 25th of March is the proper launch. So they're going to release it, bugs and all, and to the unsuspecting public. Sorry. Oh yeah. No. They're flying by the seat of their pants now. Yeah. But there's this without the security bugs, right? So, yeah. And of course, don't forget now we're here next Thursday.